Hey guys, enrichment's important for all animals, but for reptiles, sometimes it's hard to give them the enrichment that they need, which is why we try to give them their enrichment through their environment. So this is a step-by-step tutorial on how to make your own reptile DIY background. Method 1. Titebond 3, hardscape. You'll need a few things to get this completed, but here's what you'll need. You'll need a tank, any tank you choose. This is the tank I'll be using, but you can pick whatever you want. You'll need some gaps and cracks, expandable foam, Titebond 3 wood glue, a mixing container, some sticks and stones of your choosing, any dry substrates. You can make a mix with sand if you'd like, shake up your gaps and cracks, pop off the cap, make sure that little yellow cap on the end is popped in the on position so it doesn't stutter. Give that tight straw a twist until it feels nice and tight around the edge. Coat the back of your tank and add in your sticks and stones. Wait till it fully expands. This can take an hour to 45 minutes. Now once you are in this position, make sure that the foam has fully dried and that your sticks and stones are stuck to the background. And then, now we'll be doing a carving process. Since the foam is very smooth on the top, you have to carve off that top surface, and you can use this opportunity to shape the background however you want. You can always add in more foam and less foam if you choose. You just need to add in more spray foam and wait, and then carve that to go with the rest of your foam. So right now, I'm going to carve the entirety of the background to make it nice and rough so our adhesive can stick to it better, because the adhesive will not stick to the smooth surface. All your sticks and stones should be still stuck to the background. Your background should be nice and rough. All these scraps can be thrown away. I decided to add a little bit more foam to the edges because I didn't really like the way it was sticking to the sides of the glass. I'm going to give these a quick carve and then we can move on to the final coating process. Make sure you put on your gloves because this can get a little bit sticky. Uncap your Titebond 3 wood glue and simply take it all, give it a pour right into your bucket. Make sure you get it all in there. We're going to be using a 50-50% mixture in volume to our Eco Earth or whatever substrate you're using to our Titebond 3 wood glue until it is clumpy so that you can take it, squeeze in your hand, open your hand, and it will stay in a clump. If it does not have this consistency or it feels too dry or grainy, you can always add in more wood glue or more substrate, which is why it's always better to have more on hand. So right now I'm making the mix. I'm adding in 50% Eco Earth, which is the substrate that I choose because frankly I think it looks the best. Then you simply take your gloved hands and you knead it nice and moist and you make it in one consistency. You'll notice it turns gray. Don't worry about that. The Titebond 3 dries clear, so you'll end up having the same consistency as the dirt or whatever substrate that you choose. Pat your dirt down in all the nooks and crannies and cover your entire background. Since the wood glue dries clear, it doesn't matter if you get a little bit on your sticks and rocks. I simply coat the entirety of the background with it, and now you have to wait a minimum of 3 days. If you look on the side of the glass, you can see it drying, and you should not wait any less than 3 days. Preferably give it a week or 2. Take off your gloves, and you're finished. This is what the final product looks like. All done. Make sure everything is feeling nice and rough, nothing's falling apart. And one of the best ways you can check if it's done is to give the background a little press. If it doesn't have any give, you're done. The sides, as long as they're all one color, that's another great way of checking. The final budget. I spent $4 on expandable foam. I spent $16 on Titebond 3, 10 to 15 on Copa fiber, and the sticks and rocks I found outside so for free. So this tank cost me roughly $30 for a tank this size. There's a link to a form that also comes with this that will give you a more comprehensive guide on what it will cost you. For a Titebond 3, I only used about 18 ounces, but I needed double because 16 ounces wasn't enough. Method 2, Gorilla Glue, moss, softscape. Here's the materials that you'll need. You'll need a spray bottle for water, Gorilla Glue, some moss, any moss you choose, disposable gloves. Your Gorilla Glue will have a safety cap on top, so it will prevent you from squeezing it out. You simply have to cut that safety cap off. Then you can spray all your glue on the back of the container. Spray it wherever you want to make the back of your container. It doesn't matter how perfect it is as long as the vast majority is covered. I typically leave the bottom area open because I know I'm going to make plants and have dirt on the bottom of the terrarium, which is why I leave the bottom gap open. Now take your moss, rip it into small pieces, and put it in a container. Doesn't matter what the container is, it'll only be used temporarily. Take your spray bottle and make sure all the moss is damp. Really get in there. Shuffle it around and make sure all your moss is damp. This is going to be very important for the next step. Put on your gloves because the background is very sticky and you don't want this on your hands. Give it a spray because Gorilla Glue reacts with water and will start expanding and drying as soon as you give it a spray. Put in whatever sticks and rocks you're going to be using. I'm going to be using this centerpiece piece of wood. And then take that damp moss that you just made and simply fill in the background with large clumps of it. We use damp moss because, again, it's wet and it's going to help the Gorilla Glue expand more, and because moss is long and stringy, it sticks a little bit better than dirt does. And I like that green pop that it has. Gorilla Glue expands, so every 5 minutes for about a half hour you gotta give it a press down because it will keep on expanding everything upwards. Some patches of glue will stick through the moss. To get rid of these, simply take a little bit more moss and stick it right on top of those patches, and they'll just stick right to the new moss. There's another patch right here in this corner. Just do the same thing, get a little bit of moss and press it right in there. As this dries, when this is fully dry, some of these moss will fall off, but that's okay because that main layer of moss underneath will be stuck there pretty much forever, so you don't have to change or replace anything. Some of the moss is falling off, but that's to be expected. But most will stick on perfectly. You only have to wait about an hour for the background to dry. And after an hour, just let it rest for about 3 hours, and then it's all done. Make sure everything is stuck on. You don't want something falling off onto your animal. My final budget, I spent $12 on the Gorilla Glue, $10 on moss, and the sticks and rocks were free. So I spent roughly $22 on this project. However, depending on how big the tank you're doing and how many sides of the tank you're making the background on, this cost can range. Please see the attached sheet that will have a more comprehensive guide if you guys have any questions. This tank was pretty reasonably costing, and it's great for a tropical animal because of that moss background. This is the last side-by-side comparison of the two tanks. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you guys have any other questions, see the attached document, which will have goes more into detail about what we talked about. But enrichment for your animal is very important. Thank you for watching.